So let's kind of talk about what we're doing today. So if you've been watching some of my older videos, I haven't done a lot of them, but every once in a while I jump in and I do these. I've always had this kind of interest in these Nintendo or just kind of video game novelizations. I did one a while back about the Doom books. I did one about the kind of wacky Metal Gear one that they did back in the late '80s. Um, and when I was a kid, I had a couple of these things. They were called Nintendo Adventure books. And the idea of these ones is that they were basically choose your own adventure books. I'm kind of assuming people understand the basic concept of those, but if you've never read one, I don't know if they're really still a thing. They were definitely back in like the '90s. They're books that you don't quite read in order. You open them up, you flip through them, and they say, okay, there's two doors. If you want to go in the left door, turn to page 27. If you want to go in the right door, take a look at page 58. And then you would make a bunch of choices, and at the end, you would either there's usually a couple like good endings and usually a couple bad endings, and you depending on how well you did, you'd get one or the other, and then I guess you'd start it over, and it is you could read it a bunch of times. So Nintendo did a bunch of these. Sega did as well. I know there's some Sonic ones, and I've chosen this particular one just because it is a book that I had when I was a kid. So I've I've kind of flipped through it a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm going in blind because I definitely read this thing like crazy when I was little, and I've kind of flipped through it a little bit as I was getting ready for this. But for the most part, I don't really know what the right or the wrong choices are. Um, but we'll go through it and we'll try to keep going. Um, Let me catch up with chat here as well. Uh, doesn't have a question mark for blocked for head. Yeah, I first time showing my face. I guess I was kind of weird about whether or not I should do it, but I figure what's the harm. Um, just because I've got a video topic for the origin of mini games. I've had mini games on my list for like a really long time. Um, my main problem with that one is it's one of those ones where there's just it comes down to what is a mini game, and you start hitting these games where you're like, a lot of what we would call a mini game now just was a game like 50 years ago. Um, but there's definitely were older games that were collections of a bunch of games. But you kind of go is a game that just has like three games, is that three mini games, or is that just a game with three games versus a big game that has like a little mini game in it? It's we'll get to it eventually. It's definitely a topic I think we'll hit because you are not the first person to ask for that one. So on the screen, we've got the cover of the book here. We're going to be reading The Legend of Zelda: The Crystal Trap, and in the middle of the screen, we've got basically this would be like the last page of the book. They as we go through it, you collect certain items and you earn points. So the idea here is that you would, as you were playing, you would mark off the different things that you've caught, and then as you scored points, you would kind of shade in this thermometer, and at the end you get a total score that they call your TPR, your Triforce Protector rating. Um, so I did have a physical copy of this book, and I thought I had it until I started trying to do this, set up everything for this, and I realized I could not find it. So I am using a copy I got online, and I definitely ran into the problem that all of these things were like whatever kids they got them from that scanned them, like really marked them up. What year was this book published? It was published. I'm forgetting the exact year, but when I looked this up, it was between the Japanese and the English release of Link to the Past. Here's what I write down here: January 1st, 1992. So at the time of this book's release, it had it really would have been based off of Zelda 1 and 2. Link to the Past technically existed in Japan, but I do not think it had any bearing on this. In the sort of the preview post, a lot of people are kind of commenting on the appearance of it. And it definitely, to me, looks like they were basing it off of the old Zelda cartoon that came out in the early '90s, or I think 1989. Covers on our TPRs. All right. Yeah. So let's hop into it. So if we get into one, the back of the book, uh, Oh yeah, I should mention. So this one we actually play as Zelda, which I think is fairly interesting on this one, just because at this point in the games, Zelda has not done anything. She's basically captured the entire time in Zelda 1. She's in like a cursed sleep during all of Zelda 2. Um, that's another reason I think this is based a little more off the cartoon, because she was a little more proactive in that. The evil wizard Ganon casts a spell that encloses the Triforce in impenetrable crystal cocoons. Because the Triforce of Courage is in Link's heart, he becomes encased in glass. Princess Zelda must free Link so together they can defeat Ganon and save Hyrule. As in all Nintendo adventure books, you control the action. And that keeps going on. We'll be making decisions, solving puzzles, cracking codes, and so on. Keep going in. They got a few more of these. I had one more of these when I was a kid. I don't see it in here, I don't think. I think the one I had came after this one. Most of them were Mario. I think there was only 2 or 3 Legend of Zelda ones. I had a Mario one where there was like Bowser made like a radio station, and when you heard it, it would like swap your brain with somebody else. So everybody was like running around in each other's bodies. If this one goes well, that could be a fun one to do. And so I think they've got a little bit here saying like, "Hey, this is how this works." But we can jump right into it. Chapter 1, page 1. I feel weird reading this out loud now, but we're just gonna go. "Watch out, Link!" yells Princess Zelda as they rush along a narrow ledge far beneath Midoro Palace. Jumping quickly, she grabs Link's hand just as he's about to slip and fall into a bottomless pit. "Whoa!" Link says, looking down into the darkness. "That was a close one, Zelda." "Don't bother to thank me," Zelda replies with a huff. "Hurry, Ganon's close by. We can get him this time. I know it." The two heroes entered the deserted castle hours ago, hot on the trail of the evil wizard Ganon. Now they're deep underground in his maze of caves and tunnels below the ancient palace. Groping their way in the gloom, they scramble along the ledge, hugging the slimy brick wall, while cave lizards and bats squeak and flutter just out of sight. Finally, they come to an opening in the wall. "Where are we now?" Link whispers. "Shh," Zelda hisses, brushing red hair out of her eyes. The gems on the thin circle of gold around her forehead shine dully in the gloom. "Can't you be quiet for once?" "Ah, come on," Link complains. "Ganon's miles from here by now. He's running scared." "Maybe you're right," Zelda says slowly, "but we saw him come in here after he tried to steal the Triforce of Wisdom." "I tell you, he's gone," Link answers. The young warrior shifts his shield off the thin shoulder for a moment. Although younger than Princess Zelda, he's had more experience fighting the wicked Ganon. "Stop worrying," he insists. "Light a torch so we can find a way out of here." Suddenly, wild and evil laughter fills the stone chamber. "Light! Light, you say? Ha ha! I'll give you light." Link and Zelda are blinded by a glaring pink flash. Standing not 20 feet away is their archenemy, Ganon. The tall, hooded figure looms over dozens of his soldiers, the squat, ugly, dog-like moblin. They growl and bare their long fangs, and with a horrible crash, a stone wall falls over the opening that led into the chamber. "A trap!" shouts Zelda, who already has an arrow notched in her bowstring. Out of the corner of the eye, she sees Link standing with his sword at the ready. "Yes, a trap!" Ganon's voice comes from under the shadow of his hooded cloak. All that can be seen of his face are 2 glowing white eyes. Zelda can feel the ice-cold chill of his breath from where she stands. "Surrender or die," Ganon thunders. His voice crashes off the stone walls. "Never!" Zelda cries back. Ganon laughs again, harsh and cruel. In spite of herself, Zelda feels a whisper of fear. She eyes the moblin and their cruel-looking crossbows. She knows that each dart is tipped with the most horrible poisons. We're in trouble, she thinks, as she sights down her arrow at the dark shadow where Ganon's face should be. Ganon's evil magic can stop these ordinary arrows, but there must be a weapon that Ganon can't defeat. I wonder what it is. And we get to our first puzzle. So, in a lot of classic choose your own adventure books, they would just kind of just give you a choice, and it wasn't always really clear. So it would be something like, do you want to go to the forest or do you want to go to the desert? And you'd say, okay, page 20, forest, and then it would go, you die, the end, start over. And these books do that a little bit, but they usually give you some sort of puzzle. There's a hint or a clue or something. So this one says, solve the puzzle to find out which weapon can defeat Ganon. Study the 9 pictures in this ancient scroll, and then use these clues to decide which weapon is the one that can defeat Ganon. Rule 1. The weapon that will defeat Ganon doesn't have a star on it. Any weapon that begins with the letter S might defeat Ganon, and Ganon cannot be defeated by a weapon that throws stones. Once you've solved the riddle of the scroll, write the answer on the scoring page. The heroes will need it later. And this is our... I'm gonna pop this one over here and make a copy of it for us. I think that should... see if that works right. And so, see if we can... Oh, I need to click that back one. So those are our 3... I'll be honest, these were puzzles for children, so I don't think there's a lot of real like brain busters in here that are going to be like really difficult for us to figure out. But you know, we'll everyone take a moment to do your homework, and we'll check our answers. See what everyone gets for this one. See, I feel like I'm on kind of a weird delay here, but let me just see, is there a way to... I don't think I can change that once I start going, but we'll just have to we'll have to deal with it. Hopefully you guys can see it now. Okay, I feel like I'm like about 10 seconds removed from what I'm saying to what you guys are saying, so we'll yeah, so we've got our 3 rules. The weapon that defeats Ganon doesn't have a star. Any weapon that begins with an S might defeat Ganon. Ganon cannot be defeated by a weapon that throws stones. So what is your answer for this one? I'm realizing my head is kind of in the way of this, but if we cross out the ones that have stars, it's not the sword, it's not the staff. It has to start with S, so it's not the axe, the mace, the longbow, the rope, or the crossbow. And it also does not throw rocks, which eliminates our slingshot. And starting off with a real tough one, via process of elimination, the only weapon that starts with an S but does not have a star or throw rocks is of course the spear. So pretty easy one to start us off. I think it says kind of right. Make a note of what. Oh man, that is some ugly writing. Yes, and Schmanky's got it. First one to type into the chat. The spear. So we will kind of take a note that it is the spear. And then it says turn to page 64. So we're going to be jumping all over this book a little bit. And if we let that flip around. Zelda bends her bow. We may be trapped, Ganon, but so are you, she says. And just as she's about to let her arrow fly, Ganon waves his deadly claws in the air. A bolt of light leaps from his fingers and shoots towards Zelda. Her arrow vanishes in a spurt of flame. Link! Zelda shouts. And the young warrior leaps forward. But before he can cross the distance to his enemy, Ganon's claws move again, and he waves a scroll through the air. Zelda watches in horror as Link seems to be swallowed by a thick, murky pool of water. He fights bravely to reach Ganon, but his legs are slowed by the strange spell. In a moment, his feet are stuck, held fast by the jelly-like ooze. With one final effort, he turns his head. Zelda, he begins to say. His voice sounds like it's coming from the bottom of a deep well. Then the ooze around him hardens into a huge, shiny crystal. Link! Zelda runs to the crystal and pounds on the side of her fist, but it's hard as steel. Link is trapped inside, his eyes open in a look of horror. Zelda turns to Ganon. What have you done? She cries. Ganon's twisted smile glows in the darkness under his hood. I already have the Triforce of Power, but I need all three parts of the Triforce to complete my hold on Hyrule. Since I cannot get the Triforces of Courage and Wisdom from you, then you shall not be able to use them either, he says. With this magic scroll, I have cast a spell to encase them in unbreakable crystal. Of course, since the Triforce of Courage is in Link's heart, I'm afraid the poor boy will have to be shut up in the crystal also. Sorry about that. Zelda pounds on the crystal again. I'll get you out, Link, she cries. Not likely, says Ganon. There's only one way to break this crystal, and I don't think you'll ever figure it out. Or find the three things you need. By this time tomorrow, Link will be trapped in the crystal forever. I do like that Ganon is like dropping in some nice exposition. He's not only just saying like, "Oh no, don't worry, there is a way to get him out. There will be three things. Also, there's a time limit. Here's what it is." Really giving a lot of helpful info. Chain Chomp One just jumped in. He's asking, "What are we reading?" We are reading The Crystal Trap. It is a choose your own adventure book published by Nintendo back in the late or the early 90s, and we're all kind of working through it together. Ganon steps closer to Zelda. I was going to kill you, he tells her, but it's so much more fun to see you suffer over your friend. I think I'll just leave you here. Well, bye-bye. I have a kingdom to conquer. And with a wave of his claws, Ganon and the moblins vanish in a blaze of orange fire. Oh, Link, Zelda says, I wish you could talk. I could use some advice about what to do next. Should I stay here to protect you, or go look for help? And then we have our next puzzle. I gotta say, I love Ganon saying bye bye. It's a very friendly, casual way of doing it. So Zelda needs to know if she should stay and take care of Link stuck in his crystal, or if she should go for help. And in this one, we have a maze. So in the middle, we've got Link in the crystal. Zelda's right there. We have two exits, one in the top corner, one in the bottom. By exiting this maze, we will pass through a bunch of different letters, which should give us a hint as to what we should do. I think it says on scramble, so they'll be all out of order. But I'm gonna put to you guys. Let's do this one as a little. I think I can just do a poll here. Start a poll. Question answer 1. Zelda should stay. Option 2. Zelda should go. I think that should work. Yeah, everyone, get out your coloring, your crayons or your colored pencils, and work out your way through this maze. See what letters you pass through on the way, and then unscramble them to make an answer. You guys a second to work out the maze. It looks like Zelda should go is in the lead. I think that's like a three-way split. We got a third and then 2/3. 4 votes with 3/4 going to should go. I feel like I should set a timer. While we're letting everyone kind of figure this one out for a second, I'm not even sure how many people are actually in here. Okay, there's 4 of us in here. That's all of us. Okay, we've all made our things. I think Zelda should go was the winner. This one is a weird one. This is the one that I actually did kind of work through. Depending on which exit you take, you can get STAY stay, or you can get LEAVE leave. I think both are okay for this one. There will be ones later where it just kills you, like the second you take the wrong turn. Oh, that's a good. Good thing. The exit on the top is not an exit. It's closed. I did not think of that. And that would be the one you'd get if you would get stay. All right. Good eye, because I did not see that. Um, that's a subtle trick. Um, oh, Go won the poll, so let's turn to page 34. 34, which is also page 19 or chapter 19. I'm not really sure what this number at the top is even representing anymore. Um, I've got to get help, Zelda says to herself, or Link will be trapped forever. She puts her hand to the smooth side of the crystal. Link, I promise I'll be back. She turns quickly so that Link cannot see the tears welling up in her eyes. Scooping up her bow from the stone floor, she passes her hands over the wall, searching for a way out. At first, they seem solid, but then she finds a small hollow between the rocks. When she pushes on it, a section of the wall opens like a door. As she stoops to leave, she looks at Link. Bye, old friend, she whispers. Zelda steps into a long hallway with torches flickering along the wall. I think this is the way out, she says. Maybe. Screech! A swarm of tektites drops from the ceiling in front of her, looking like huge spiders on slimy threads. They let out screeching cries as they scurry towards Zelda. In a flash, her trusty longbow is in her hand. Her bowstring hums as she hits one armor-plated beast after another. The tektites flee trails of red ooze flowing from their wounds. Zelda reaches for one more arrow to send after the retreating horde, but her quiver is empty. Uh-oh, she says to herself. With her hand on the hilt of her dagger, Zelda walks toward the exit at the end of the hall. Just as she's about to leave, though, she sees something lying in a small alcove. It's a quiver full of arrows. They're marked with strange runes and symbols. Should I take them, she wonders? They might be evil, but I sure could use them. Zelda gets 50 points for fighting off the tektites. So we can mark that on our thing here. It says if you think Zelda should take the arrows, mark them on your score sheet. So this would be our score sheet. Is this part here in the middle? Basically, we have the option of it's how you keep track of your inventory. I guess slight spoilers because there's some this kind of can see some of the things that we will potentially get. But it's giving us the option to take them or to not take them. So again, let's it's not letting me make a new poll. Do I gotta like get rid of the old one? Well, just put a note in chat if you think we should take them or not, and then we'll circle them if we should. While we're thinking about that, as we read more of this, I do think this is becoming more and more that it was based off the cartoon more than the game. Because that was a thing in the cartoon, right? Where they used to say there was kind of two. The Triforce of Wisdom was on Zelda's side, the Triforce of Power was on Ganon's side, and then most episodes since they were always kind of one or the other guy would be going to try to get both of them. They called it the Triforce, but they always would be like, here are the two pieces of the Triforce. And I don't know if they ever mentioned that the thing about Link having the third one. What do we got? Drumstep says take them, and 6586 says since it's getting cave, it's clearly not a trap. And Super Double A says take. That feels like a majority for take, so I'm gonna give these arrows a little circle. Probably need to have this such a big. Grab those. We now have the arrows. We now have our 50 points for killing the tektites. And turn to page 29. At the end of the corridor, Zelda comes to a long flight of stairs. Up she climbs to a large chamber with a pair of massive doors. This must be the way out, she thinks. Racing for the doors, she slips through. On the other side, Zelda is blinded by a bright white light. Is it Ganon again? Then she laughs. It's the sun! She's found her way out of the palace. She runs down the stone steps and onto an old deserted road. I wonder where I am, she says. This isn't the way we came. I wish Link had drawn me a map of the land between Medora Palace and my home, North Castle. After a little ways, the road veers left and runs into a large flat space. Tall stone pillars lie crumbling in a ring all around. It's a crossroads, Zelda says. Those pillars are signposts, but I don't recognize the language they're written in. She walks to one of the columns and sees a worn-out picture carved on its side. She can just make out trees and a deer. This road must lead into a forest. She looks at another pillar, and there's a carving of a swamp. But which swamp? Medoro or Mulug? And over there in the third column is a picture of a desert. Is it the Tantari? I can't tell. None of these roads look like they lead straight back to North Castle. Well, my choices are the forest, the swamp, or the desert. Which should I choose? And then we have yet another puzzle here. I'm going to take the first page here and add it on, because this one's a little more complicated than some of the other ones. Okay, so this one asks, cross out every shape with an odd number of sides. Cross out every shape with 3 more sides in a triangle. Starting in the upper left corner, cross out every remaining third shape with parallel sides. And the remaining letters will spell out a clue. While we think about that one, wasn't the third Triforce introduced in A Link to the Past? I think so. I think it's in like the manual to Zelda 2. They do get into that, where there's something where there was a different Princess Zelda from a long time ago, and she cast a spell at some point, and there is something where Link is destined to do something with the Triforce. I don't really recall the exact details of it. But I don't. I think you could play the game and not see any of that. But I think it is like buried in the manual somewhere. Um, with between the swamps, I don't know. I know that some of these things are places from I think Zelda 2. As you're going through, and like not all of them are places from the games, but I think a bunch of them are specifically things that you would see in the more Zelda 2, maybe Zelda 1. Let's see. Click Smasher says Link gets a Triforce of Courage at the end of Zelda 2, but I think it's only in the manual that calls it that. Yeah, I think that is about right. I definitely remember the cartoon that I think they were basing this off of. There really is just two. There's just these 2 glowing diamonds. Ganon's got one, Zelda's got the other, and they just kind of never mention the third one. This is probably a tricky puzzle to do without crossing it out. I will say too, this was one of the ones where I had to go and get it remade, because some of these, like all the scanned copies, were all penciled out and crossed out, and like all the puzzles were already done. Before we start marking up our copy of it here, if you've got an idea of where you think we should go, drop it in the chat, and we'll we'll see what most people are thinking is the right move. And we can start working these out. So cross out every shape with an odd number of sides. So that would be, that one's got 5. Just grab the 5, 3, 2, 5. A circle has 1 side, right? That's an odd number. 6, so that one's okay. That one's out. That one's out. That's a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, and 3. So at the end of rule 1, that's what we've got. Cross out every shape with 3 more sides than a triangle. So all the hexagons with 6 sides. Drumstep saying, I think I'm getting at least tree as the clue, so leaning forest. So if we cross out the hexagons, we lose that one and that one. And then it also says, cross cross out every shape starting in the upper left corner, cross out every remaining third shape with parallel sides. So if we start with the T and then go R, F would be the cross out. And you got E, E, and then the V would be the cross out. W, I, T, I think would be the T, C, and then the O. And then we got that last H on there. And if we spell those all out, you get T, R, E, E, W, I, T. And it looks like it spells out the phrase tree witch. So that would be probably our correct solution to the puzzle. I'll be honest, there were a couple of these that I was sort of trying to solve a little bit as I was going through them. There's one you need to do some algebra, and I really messed it up the first time I did it. We have kind of one call for forest. Anyone else want to make a case for going somewhere else? All right, it looks like that is going to be where we are heading, and let's if Zelda should go to the forest, 42. Anyone seen any good movies lately? I saw Spider-Man the other day, the new one. Uh, no spoilers, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Something tells me I should stay in the forest, Zelda says. I just wish I could rest a little, but there's no time to lose. She hurries along the right-hand road deeper into the woods. Soon, towering trees close in on either side. They look very ancient, with gnarled trunks as thick as houses, and long strands of gray moss hanging from the branches. As she walks, the road narrows, thorn bushes sprout thickly along it, catching at Zelda's clothes. The sun disappears behind the canopy of leaves, and finally the road is nothing more than a faint path. It's dark, Zelda says, and the air is so thick I can't breathe. My head is spinning. Maybe I should rest and lie down. And this one does not give us a puzzle. It just says, if you think Zelda should rest, turn to page 98. If you think Zelda should go on, turn to page 72. Let's take 30 seconds. If you've got a pick, should she rest, or should she try to push on? I keep hearing about the Spider-Man movie. Is it an actual movie or a meme? Um, I feel like they're so closely related now. You can't do one of these Marvel movies without it also just being a lot of memes. Um, as a movie, I liked it. It's definitely doing the like, hey, hope you saw like five other Marvel things so that this one makes enough sense. I think you could. I think it would stand on its own. But if you just never saw a Marvel movie and was like, yeah, Spider Man, you would probably be really confused at the beginning. Um, okay, looking at our results, we've got 2 for leave, 1 for don't rest in the poison gas. So I think we're going to be pushing on. So turning to page 72. Nope, I don't like the feel of this place, Zelda says. I'd better go on. It takes all of her willpower to push through the thorny bushes. It's almost as if an unseen force is trying to stop her. Whew, glad I'm out of that, she says, as she steps into a clearing. Oh! A low moan fills the air. For a moment, Zelda thinks it's just the wind whistling through the treetops. Who? Who is there? Zelda searches for the source of the voice, but can't find it. It is I, Princess Zelda of Hyrule, she says boldly. Who are you? I? A long moment goes by, and then the voice answers with a loud rush. I am trees, it roars. I am woods. I am Greenbeard. The voice shifts around like the wind. Let me pass, Zelda demands. I mean no harm. No harm? The angry reply sounds like a thunderclap. People always harm woods. I swear by my royal crown that none of the people of Hyrule shall ever harm these woods, Zelda declares. And Moblin with axes? The voice asks. No Moblin shall harm these woods while I live to stop them, she replies. Pass, calls the voice of Greenbeard with a sigh like a gentle breeze. Zelda bows deep and moves through the clearing. On the other side, she turns and calls back. Thank you. May your roots run deep. Go, calls a voice, and then faintly it adds, Beware, beware, tree witch. Zelda turns and walks down the path. Zelda gains 70 points for getting through the clearing. So if we kind of go back to where we were keeping track, and we had about 50 before, so I think we're up to 120. Use my terrible mouse penmanship. And turn to page 107. I know that this is just some random like tree character, but if we fit it into like the greater Zelda mythology, I'm gonna just pretend it's like the giant tree that's at the beginning of the Ocarina of Time. How will they build houses if they can't use woods? Zelda is a terrible head of government. There's a lot of these things. It's like, do we ever see? I mean, it'd be a pretty weird video game if that was like a the manage your resources as you try to like run Hyrule Kingdom. Personally, I would play that game. The existence of a 70-point bonus on this type of scale is baffling. Yeah, we did 50 points for killing some monsters, 70 points for walking into the woods. But looks like things are going better on this side. The lane is as smooth and green as a lawn, and Zelda walks along easily. But after a while, she begins to worry. I'm supposed to be finding help for Link, she says, but all I see are trees. As if in answer, she spots a rocky path leading up a steep slope. It's littered with vines and fallen tree trunks. The rocks are covered with moss and dead moldy leaves, and they look slimy and dangerous. Zelda looks at the broad, sunny path in front of her. Then she looks at the rocky track leading up the slope. Well, here's a choice, she says to herself. One way looks safe and sunny, and the other looks dark and dangerous. Which way should I go? And says solve this puzzle for a good piece of advice. This message is in code. Change the letter of each line by moving forward in the alphabet the same number of letters as the answer to the question. Look at the picture of Zelda for some of the answers. All right, let's so there's our picture of Zelda, but let's just grab this one. Pop that in there. So for this one, we have how many days does Zelda have to save Link? Does anyone remember? I I don't. I think Ganon said you just. I think it's one, right? I think he kind of said like by sundown. Um, if we change the letter moving forward in the alphabet by the same number of letters as the answer to the question, I think A would become. I think A would just become B if it was one day. How many crystals is Link trapped in? Okay, he's trapped in one. Uh, it would be bad news if he was trapped in multiple crystals, since that would kind of imply he was in a couple pieces. Um, so if we move D forward one, that's E. How many arrows are there in Zelda's quiver? Um, Super Double A says, "Wasn't it this time for tomorrow?" Yeah, I think that's right. I'm. It's definitely not more than one day, so we'll say one day. Um, how many arrows in Zelda's quiver? I am counting 4. So if we move B forward 4, that would be C, D, E, F. How many roads did Zelda choose from at the crossroads? I think it was three. I think we took the forest. I think the other options were there's definitely the swamp, and I think the desert. Um, the Joe says arrows was zero, but we took some. Yeah, we ran out of arrows and took more, but in this case, I think they are talking specifically about the picture right here. Yeah, okay. So yeah, everyone says it was three. So, geez, I think you know the alphabet by now. L M N O P Q R O P Q R. Okay, so if we move forward, that's R. How many Triforces are there in Hyrule? Feel like that's got to be three. So if it's an F, E, F, G, H, I, how many of Zelda's arrows did Ganon burn? Was just the one. She tried to shoot him and he burned it up. So that goes to E. How many things does Zelda need to free Link? Does anyone remember what the answer was to that one? I'm pretty sure I do. I'm reading the chat now. I'm seeing a string of numbers and I'm having trouble. We're definitely on a bit of a delay, so I'm kind of seeing myself say stuff, and then I'm kind of watching my little thing, and it's still going like 8 seconds later. Um, I think it was three things. I'm seeing a big list of a big row of threes popping up in the comments. So if it's K H I J K L L M N, and this is starting to spell a word, I think. How many daggers is Zelda carrying? Just looks like one, not like running in more than one. So if that's a C, that goes up to a D. And how many jewels is Zelda wearing? If we look at these like shinies, she's got one on her head thing here, big earring. The bracelet is three, two rings is 4, 5. So if it's, I feel like we're just going to ignore the presence of a possible other earring and just count the ones we can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So G, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and S. How many stripes are on Zelda's clothes? I don't know. What are we counting as a stripe here? I just got 6 stripes on her boots. I'm gonna say that. So if it's S, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, probably not Z. And that would make sense because it is now giving us a message. Not a super useful one yet. It just says be friendly. I'm realizing that like my head is kind of in the way of this thing. Be friendly. So that's our option there. Um, it doesn't really tell us what to do. It still gives us a choice. If you think Zelda should stay on the grassy lane, turn to page 62. If you think Zelda should climb the rocky path, turn to page 59. What do you guys think we should do? I'll wait a minute here, see what you guys say for that one. Smasher EXE says, "Don't be mean," quoting the Sage of Wisdom. So this is probably one of the ones. In my experience reading these, usually um, if they don't give you a specific thing, it's usually both are probably not gonna like kill you on the next page. Drumsup's asking, the grassy lane was the nice, not scary path. Yeah, so I think the grassy lane is the easy going one. The rocky path is the bad one. Yes, the lane is as smooth and green as a lawn. The rocky path is littered with vines and fallen tree trunks, rocks covered with moss and dead moldy leaves that look slimy and dangerous. Um, Suggesting that we just flip a coin. Whatever the very next thing somebody says, we'll go with that one. And if nothing happens in the next like 2 seconds, let's see. Something to flip. I'll flip an SD card instead. But right, I'm calling that heads, and we'll go with the first option then, the grassy lane. Turn all the way back to page 62. Oh, good. Here comes all the yeah, more options for the lane. So we're all in agreement here. Zelda follows the path for quite a while until she's in a region of tall, craggy hills covered with thick bushes. Now it's like a road again, with deep wagon ruts on either side. It's late afternoon by the time the road ends at the base of a tall cliff. Set into the jagged stone is a massive iron door. I don't know what's behind this door, but maybe I should go in, she says. Zelda pulls on the latch with all her might, but it's held fast and solid as the stone. Then she notices a large keyhole just at the shoulder height. A key, she says. That's what I need. Solve this puzzle to find out something Zelda will need if she gets inside the doors. And then I think this is the sort of algebraic one that I was. Let's get rid of these and pop this one up here where we can all see it. It's okay there. So Zelda has twice as many rubies in her pockets as there are arrows in her quiver. Zelda has one dagger. The number of Zelda's arrows, rubies, and daggers added together is 10. How many arrows does Zelda have? Starting with the first letter on the door, count off the number of arrows Zelda has. Circle that letter, repeat until you reach the last letter. The circled letters spell out something Zelda will need inside the cave. So hope everyone's got their calculators ready, their math smarts. A little bit of algebra to figure this one out. So she's got twice as many rubies as she has arrows, and she has one dagger, and the number of arrows, rubies, and daggers added together is 10. So first thing to figure out, how many arrows does she have? And I assume we're just ignoring the fact that we just did a puzzle where she had 3 arrows in her quiver, and or 4, I already forget. And then once we figure that out, we can sort of put together some stuff on this door. I do feel for Zelda here. Like she knows she has to find 3 things, and with no clue whatever, she's just kind of wandering the countryside. Like, oh, there's a door. I guess maybe one of the 3 things is in there. I don't know what it is. I won't even know it when I see it, but I guess I should try to get in there. No one's volunteering a quick answer on this one yet, so the number of Zelda's arrows. Let me say it again. The Zelda has twice as many rubies in her pocket as there are arrows in her quiver. Here's some math. Drumstep says 3x plus 1 equals 10, where x equals arrows. Therefore, we got that much done. I was hoping someone else would solve this so I wouldn't have to sit down and do the math and say, so if we work that out, yeah, 3x plus 1 is 10, so 3x is 9, so x is 3. That makes sense to me. 3 arrows, so that says repeat until you reach the last letter. Starting at the first letter, count off the number of arrows. So if we go 1, 2, 3, and cross off the M. Oh, sorry, circle. Okay, so the M is important. 1, 2, 3, and that's the A. 1, 2, 3 is G. You know, instead of doing them this way, I'm going to just write them out. M, A, G, O, P, I. Yeah, this definitely feels like we're on the right track. E, N, C. So magic. And then A. 2, 3 is R. 1, 2, 3 is R again. And then O, W, S. So the answer is magic arrows. Uh, from the one username I cannot possibly pronounce. Can code something in Python that can brute force a solution. Yeah, I mean, again, I think these were made for like 10-year-olds. This is probably the trickiest puzzle in here, in that you actually do need to do a little bit of math. Most of them are like just mazes and stuff. Um, but yeah, magic arrows, and we are in luck because if we remember, uh, we have picked up the magic arrows when we were leaving Ganon's castle in like the very first. That's like the second decision we made. So on that hand, we are doing pretty good. If Zelda has the key, turn to page 32. If Zelda doesn't have the key, turn to page 52. So we have gotten somewhere that we shouldn't have gotten to yet. I guess we've kind of we're gonna need to come back here later. So for now, we need to turn to page 52, which will put us somewhere else. Oh no. Boom, boom. Zelda pounds on the door, but it's like pounding on solid stone. If only I had a key, she moans. Weary and downcast, she slumps to the ground, trying to decide what to do. But a rush of hot air makes her jump to her feet. Hiss! Zelda turns just as a huge snake-like neck rises up from a hole in the ground. A rope snake! She cries. The giant serpent slithers forward, its cold eyes flashing and its great forked tongue whipping out between its fangs. Zelda grabs for her bow, but before she can get it, the monstrous snake throws a coil around her arms. Help! She screams. Game over. So we've reached our first game over. So I guess we won't be returning to that door. Hopefully, getting a something else. I thought there will be things where you can kind of loop around a few times, but I guess not in this case. So we've hit our first game over. We had 120 points, which does not even get us on the board in terms of our Triforce Protector rating, our TPR. I need to get up to at least 200 to be a Gallant Greenhorn. So Quick Smasher's asking, are we restarting now? Generally, that's how you are, I think, supposed to do it. I am not going to reread like every single thing that happened, but I think we can jump to. So we kind of get through that first thing. We still solve this one. We know what the spear is going to be the weapon. That doesn't change. If we go to a kind of our next decision, we had the should I stay or should I go? We decided to go, and we could change that if you guys think we should. I'll put it to you. If everyone thinks that this decision was good, we can kind of move forward from there, or we could see what would happen if we'd stay. Drumstep says, I feel like the mistake might have been at the being tired in the woods. Our clue was Tree Witch. So we could try doing the same things up until that point. Although I think Greenbeard, the tree spirit voice, said, watch out for the Tree Witch. So you kind of got two different things there. But yeah, so if we start this one here in the maze, we decided to go. People still feel good about go, or Does anyone want to change that one? And looking like no one's kind of jumping in with anything else, so yeah, we're gonna stick with go. I still like leaving here. All right, we will continue to go, which gets us to page 34. And so she gets attacked by the Tektites. She gets the 50 points for killing them, which I guess I can just really quickly mark on our sheet here. Do that. I should have had that on another layer, and I didn't. Oopsies. Just go like so. Okay, just go like this. We'll not do that. Do that anymore. These. We How are we feeling about keeping the magic arrows? Um, I'm assuming we should take them because we did see the clue on the door was magic arrows. So I'm going to assume we still want to keep those. We're just going to mark in that we grabbed 50 points for the Tektites. And turn to page 29. Okay, so we get to the crossroads, and we had this shape puzzle. And again, we had a couple of choices here. If we recall, the puzzle said something, I think it said tree witch. So we decided that meant that we should go to the forest. Again, we have the option here. We could go to the desert or we could go to the swamp first if we think that one of those would be a better place to head to. Or we could continue going to the forest and see if anything happens differently this time. Again, I'm just pausing for a second because I think I'm like 10 seconds ahead of the stream. So every time I ask a question, you guys aren't seeing it for a little bit of time till then. If no one says a different place in like the next few seconds, I'm going to just say, okay, there we go. Drum step says still forest. So continuing on to the forest, page 42. And we get to this bit where Zelda's having trouble breathing, and she says, my head is spinning. Maybe I should lie down and rest. And last time we said that nope, she should push on, get out of there. We did have some talk where people were thinking maybe something else would happen. Maybe we should try waiting there. Do we still want to try pushing on, or do we feel like we should stop and rest first? Drumstep says I want to try resting here. If we think Zelda should rest, turn to page 98. I've got to rest, Zelda says, and with a sigh, she lies down right in the middle of the path. Soon she's fast asleep. She dreams she's on her palace walls when suddenly Ganon appears. You'll never break the spell on Link, he laughs. With a flick of his claw, he knocks her off the battlement. Just as she's about to plunge to her death, he grabs her foot and holds her upside down in midair. Zelda feels Ganon's claws cutting into her foot, and she struggles to get free, but she can't move. Suddenly, she wakes. No, she cries. She can't move. The thick, woody creepers of a vine hugger are twisted around her arms and legs. I'm stuck, she cries. I shouldn't have stopped. Now I'll never rescue Link. Game over. So our initial instinct on this one was better. Um, let's assume that we're all making the same choices up to this point that we would have. Yes, as we just said, back to 42. So instead of resting, we're going to push on. We'll go to page 72. Okay, so we meet Greenbeard, which is some kind of disembodied voice in the woods. He gives us the warning, beware the tree witch, and we get 70 points for getting through that clearing without resting. And then we turn to page 107. Okay, so this is a point where we had the two paths. There was the very nice, smooth looking path, and then there was the rocky path. And this puzzle just gave us the clue, be friendly, without really, it doesn't really give us anything on in terms of what to do for this particular decision. Presumably that'll be helpful advice at some later point. The very first time we went, we stayed on the nice, safe looking path. We got to the door, we couldn't get through, and we got a game over. So the only other option is to take the rocky path instead. So we'll flip back to 59. I must be crazy, Zelda says as she starts climbing the rocky slope. Ow! She slips on a moss-covered stone. This'll teach me not to do things the hard way. But after she climbs a little more, the hill flattens into an outcrop of gray stone streaked with dark marks. The rock ends in a sharp, deep crack. On hands and knees, Zelda crawls to the edge. Below is a narrow canyon, and against the opposite wall stands a hut. As Zelda watches, the bent figure comes to the doorway. Well, don't lie there like a thief, the figure shouts in a high, crackly voice. You, come down and have some lunch. There's no use hiding here, Zelda reasons. She climbs down the cliff and walks to the hut. As she gets near, a terrible stench reaches her nose. Don't mind the smell. A small, gray-haired old woman appears, carrying a big black pot with something bubbling inside. It's the boiled moss scum, she cackles. You get used to it, Zelda. How do you know my name? Zelda says, her hand on the hilt of her dagger. Oh, I know about most things in these woods, she says the old crone with a toothless smile. I'm a tree witch, ain't I? Tree witch, Zelda cries. But Greenbeard said, That old wood sprite's been bad-mouthing me again, cackles the witch. She pulls a few wisps of hair from her head and absentmindedly adds them to the pot. He's been mad at me since I stole his prickleberries last autumn. Don't worry, have some stew. Stew? Zelda looks in the pot and sees a thick brown mess with dark heaps of greenish goo floating on top. I have to go, she says quickly. Can you tell me the way out of here? The witch points down the canyon. Follow the creek bed and you'll get where you have to go. Oh, you'd better take this. She fumbles in her torn and dirty rags for a moment and pulls out a large brass key. She offers it to Zelda. Sure you don't want some stew? She asks, and then laughs so loudly that Zelda jumps. It tastes a mite better than it looks. Zelda doesn't know what to do. Should she take the witch's key? What if it contains an evil spell? And should she stay and eat the awful-smelling stew? I'm hungry, all right, she thinks, but I don't know if I'm that hungry. And so if you think Zelda should take the key, mark it on your score sheet. If you think Zelda should stay and eat the witch, turn to page 110. If you think Zelda should leave, turn to page 62. So two choices, take the key or don't take the key, and eat the stew or don't eat the stew. We've had two clues about the tree witch. When we were at the crossroads, the clue that we got just said tree witch. It didn't say anything else. And then Greenbeard said, don't trust her. But I don't know. She's making it sound like it's not. I don't know. Maybe he's just kind of a jerk. I don't know. See, I think the first poll is still open. So if you want to do another one, I think you might just need to find the close button for it. Yeah, do I just maybe need to draw it? I feel like I closed it on my thing and now I don't see it anymore. Um, we don't have a ton of people in here, so it's not. I think it's pretty easy to kind of keep track of who's. If I had pages and pages of people saying answers, I think I would worry more about doing the poll. But um, I think we're pretty good here. So we'll go. We said definitely take the key. Our other hint was be friendly, and I do. Yeah, as you're saying, definitely take the key, be friendly, and all that. I I go either way on that one, but yeah, let's be friendly. Let's try taking the stew, I guess, and just see what happens. At the very least, we should get something. We should get an interesting thing. We'll just remember we were on page 61, I guess. We're gonna start save scumming this a bit, I think. If you think Zelda should stay and eat with the witch, turn to page 110. Um, if you think Zelda should leave, turn to page 62, which is the very next one. Let's see what happens on 110. Eat the soup, always trust strangers. um, Nothing, no game over on the first page, so that's good. Something in the old witch's face makes Zelda stop. I don't know why, she thinks, but she just looks friendly. As if she can read Zelda's mind, the witch says, Of course I'm friendly. Didn't I offer you some delicious stew? She did say she put her own hair in that stew, I think was mentioned in the description. And the witch pours a huge steaming ladleful of the glop into a wooden bowl. Carefully, Zelda takes the bowl. She raises it to her mouth. She sniffs it. I told you don't mind the smell, the witch says. It's them toadwarts. Can't find good toadwarts these days. Toadwarts, Zelda thinks. Well, if I'm gonna do this, I better do it. She grabs a spoon from the old crone, dunks it into her bowl, and jams a mouthful of the brown glop into her mouth. The witch looks at her, smiling. Zelda says, as a wonderful sweet flavor fills her mouth. This is delicious. I told you, the witch laughs. Of course, not many folks had the courage to try some tree witch stew, but them that do deserve a reward, so here's yours. She fumbles in her rags, pulls out something small and shiny, and hands it to Zelda. A ring, Zelda says. It's a thin band of gold with an oddly shaped pink crystal set in it. Zelda slides it on her finger. Suddenly, she doesn't feel tired at all. She gulps down the rest of the stew. How can I thank you? She asks. Just don't believe all the bad things you hear about tree witches, the old woman replies with a laugh. Now get going. You have a lot to do before you can rescue Link. Zelda jumps up and walks quickly down the path the witch has shown her. Zelda now has the ring. Mark it on your score sheet. So over on our thing in our inventory sheet here, we'll just circle that we now have the ring as well. And then it flips us back to page 62, which is the same page that we would have gone to if we did not eat the soup. Only we wouldn't have the ring. Zelda follows the path for quite a while until she's in a region of tall, craggly hills covered with thick bushes. Now it looks like a road again. Okay, so this is, we were here before. This is back at the door. So last time we got here, we did not have the key, so we died. This time we do have the key, so we can turn to page 32. Just to catch up here. Hashtag Soup Nation. This feels like a success for now, at least. Yeah, we're making progress. We're getting places we didn't get before. The key fits neatly into the lock, and with a gentle shove, Zelda pushes the iron doors open. Inside, the road disappears into an immense cavern. The walls glow with an eerie light. Well, Zelda gulps, I said I wanted to go in. She steps inside, the door slams shut behind her. There's no keyhole on this side, she says, looking at the doors. I guess I'm not getting out this way. She moves forward, following the road through the middle of the cavern. Clink, clink, clink. Zelda turns, on guard. She knew that sound only too well. Gibdos. Gibdos? Mummies. Mummy men. I feel like there's a lot of words in this that, like, I've seen, but I've never had to say out loud before. I can outrun those creeps any day, she thinks. But as she prepares to flee, she hears the same sound on her other side. Clink, clink, clink. The weird, half-dead things shuffle toward her, dragging their chains and wrappings. A dagger's no good against Gibdos, Zelda thinks. Even a plain arrow will pass right through them. What I need are some magic arrows. If Zelda has the magic arrows, turn to page 18. If Zelda doesn't have the magic arrows, turn to page 102. So in this case, we're coming out on top because everyone agreed we should take the arrows on that first one. So we can go right to page 18. Magic arrows, she cries. What about those arrows I found in Medora Palace? In a split second, she notches one of the strange arrows into her bowstring and takes aim on the nearest Gibdo. It's close enough for her to smell its rotting cloth bandages. Zing! The arrow finds its mark, and the Gibdo bursts into flames. In the red glare, Zelda sees the twisted shape of the other mummy men as they run in fear from the terrible fire. In a few seconds, the blaze is out. Above the ashes, a blue glow floats in the air. A fairy! Zelda cries with joy. Yes, a fairy, says the little sprite, beating her wings above the Gibdo's ashes, and one that's glad to be rid of that putrid Gibdo. He's been holding me prisoner for I don't know how long. The fairy waves her wand, and Zelda is covered from head to toe in warm blue light. That feels great, she says. I'm ready to battle 1,000 Gibdos now. Let's hope that won't be necessary, says the fairy. Tell me, child, why are you here in this evil place? Quickly, Zelda tells the fairy of the crystal spell on Link. I've been looking for help for almost half a day, but I don't know what I'm looking for, she groans. The fairy replies. I'm sorry I can't save you, but maybe this will help. And she drops the scroll at Zelda's feet. What is it? Zelda asks. But the fairy doesn't answer. Good luck, she cries, and then she vanishes. Zelda picks up the scroll. It's a riddle, she says. I wonder what it means. Look for something hotter than blank, colder than blank, and sweeter than blank. Solve this puzzle to find the missing words in the riddle. Here's a list of Ganon's creatures. You'll find them all hidden in his word search. They may be written forward, backward, up, down, or diagonally. Circle the words. The remaining letters will spell out the missing words in the riddle. I'll be honest, guys. I don't know how much I want to sit through doing a word search, even though I think it's probably going to be a pretty easy one. I'll take a quick crack at it. It said it could be backwards too. Forward, backward, up, down, or diagonal. Okay, it's everything. Okay, I see Gawk backwards. I actually not sure what that one is. Staphlos is right here. And the Ibdo is going up. Zols on the left column. Yes, it is. Zols. Oh, that's Petra. Backwards. This is a. I think honestly, almost every column and everything is going to be something. This might be easier than I thought. A keys is something. Pieces. Zola is right here. Mos is by Staphos. Oh yeah, Mos is here. Oh, sorry, it's just Armo. UK second row on the right. Yeah, what's a UK? An Uck? Is that a is that a classic Zelda monster? Because that is not that does not mean anything to me. Gels is, I think, those little ones that look like, well, just like a bunch of cylinders stacked on each other. What do we got left? The Chini. I think they made a few of these up for this book. I don't recognize a lot of these. That could be diagonal. We don't actually have a diagonal one yet. Who's an enemy of the British Crown? Uh, I not find this last. You know what? I think this G is supposed to be a C. Some of these were all penciled in, and I had to like go back in and fix them. And I might have replaced that C with a G. I think this is it here. It's Chini. What did it say? The remaining letters will spell out the missing words in the riddle. So Fire, something hotter than fire. Okay, makes sense. Uh, something colder than ice. Something sweeter than Cugar, sugar. Okay. Uh, I mean, that's if you already know that it's something hotter than something. I feel like we just know it's going to be something hot. The fact that it's something hotter than fire isn't really. It's not really busting this riddle wide open. Um, so we need something hot, something cold, something something sweet. So we'll keep an eye out for that stuff. We do get 100 points for defeating the Gibdos, which if I add that to our little score here, that gets us up to 220. We've now made it up to Gallant Greenhorn, I think. Okay, turn to page 48. Zelda strikes out across the cavern and soon comes to a sheer wall. There's no stairs up it and no windows on its face. Clink, clink. Zelda whirls around. The Gibbles have returned, and there are more this time. Too many to shoot, she says to herself. Better find a way out of here. She turns back to the wall and searches for a way out. There must be a door or a gate or something, she cries. At last, she spots a small door in a shallow alcove of rock near the end of the wall. It's a good distance away, and the Gibdos are closing in. Taking a deep breath, Zelda sprints over the cavern floor. Turning to page 96. I hate that Gibdo smell, Zelda says as she rushes through the door. She tries to slam it shut, but something jams the hinges. Move, Zell. She races forward. After a while, she can no longer hear the Gibdos. Whew, must have outrun them, she sighs. Now to find the things I need. I wish I could make sense of that riddle. She keeps walking down the cave, trying to figure out the meaning of the riddle. She's so lost in thought that she almost misses a pair of doors set in the cave wall. Another locked door, Zelda says, and an unlocked one. She tries the brass key on the locked door, but it doesn't fit. I bet there's something important behind that locked door, she says, but where can I find the key to open it? Solve this puzzle to score extra points. Get Zelda through the door. She can jump from monster to monster, moving in any direction, including diagonally, but she cannot land on the same one twice. She may only move to a monster with the same or greater number of arms. Score 10 points for each monster Zelda lands on. But then we do have this thing at the bottom here. It says, if Zelda has the ring, turn to page 23. So we definitely are making progress because we do have our ring. This one is just a little puzzle to score some extra points, I guess, for our Triforce Protector rating. That makes it a little bigger so I actually see what the things are. I'll say, so the first one has 1, and then you got the option of either here or here. This one would go to 3, so I'm going to say go 1, 2, 3. But then that one also has 3. Yeah, it said it has to be the same or greater. Okay, so we could move to the next. We could keep going to a 3 and then a 3. And we could. Oh, if we want to hit all of them, so you'd go for 1, 1, 1, and then you go like 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5. I think he's got a fifth one in there. I don't know if that's like the best path, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 at 10 points each. That's another 140. I'm I'm gonna call that pretty good, and I think we were at 220 plus 140. Well, that's getting us up there. Now we're at around 360 points. We're almost an apprentice adventurer. To continue our adventure, we have the ring, so we can go to page 23. I had a fear that when I did this, that all these puzzles would be really easy, and we would just make all smart decisions. That this whole adventure would take like oh, we'll be in and out in like half an hour, no problem. The ring, Zelda says, the one the tree witch gave me. She raises her hand and looks at the oddly shaped crystal. It's glowing with soft pink light. It's the same shape as the keyhole, Zelda exclaims. As she moves the ring closer to the locked door, it grows brighter. The crystal fits smoothly in the keyhole, and the door springs open. On the other side is a small chamber, like a closet. Odd, Zelda says. It's empty. She steps inside to get a better look. With a bang, the door slams shut. A trap! Zelda cries in alarm. The whole chamber is turning. Then suddenly, the door opens again, and Zelda jumps through. Where am I? She wonders. And turn to page 15. Zelda's standing in a small room that's bare except for a winding staircase right in the center. Well, I don't know where I am, she says, but I guess I'll go up. She starts to climb the stairs. At the top is a small round chamber with a door standing ajar at the far end, and a wooden table by itself in the center. A thin shaft of light falls from the ceiling onto the tabletop. Something shining there catches Zelda's eye. A magnifying glass, Zelda says, surprised. What's that doing here? I wonder if it has something to do with Link. Zelda looks at the glass and thinks about the riddle on the fairy scroll. What's hotter than fire? She asks herself, and then suddenly snaps her fingers. I know the answer. And we've got our next puzzle. Solve this to answer the riddle. Circle the object that should go next to continue each pattern. The first letter of the objects you add spell the answer to the riddle. But at the bottom it says we also have the magnifying glass, so we can mark that on our score sheet. Ah, new person here, Golden MC. You look like Jeff Bezos. He was kind of a loser, but in a cool way. I choose to take that as a compliment. So thanks for joining us. We're working our way through a Nintendo adventure book. Choose your own adventure. Nintendo put them out there. This one was Zelda based. But whenever you have a choice or something, it gives you some sort of puzzle to kind of help you figure stuff out. This one I'm not sure. It's certainly out there. It should go next. So if it goes, I guess we're doing sequences. It goes rope, sword, ring, rope, rope, sword. I guess the ring comes next, so that would be R. And then if it's, I mean, just to kind of brute force this, I feel like it's got to be sword again because it's three things. We got a magnifying glass. The answer to the riddle is that it's something hotter than fire, which it's got to be the sun, right? S is sword, U umbrella, N for nose. I don't understand this one immediately. Yeah, I think it is that you're looking. You're supposed to go like umbrella, sword, tree, tree, or maybe they're I'm not really sure how there's a sequence. Like I kind of get that maybe on this one, the umbrella goes on both sides and they're like symmetrical, but if it goes tree, apple tree, nose, that one makes sense to me that that one is an N. I can kind of see them, but only because I think I know what the answer is, and I'm working backwards to get the result. If it's going rope, sword, ring, rope, sword, I guess the idea is that it go rope, sword, ring, rope, and then it'll go sword, sword, and then ring, ring. I guess I am almost positive that is sun. Um, Either way, we now have the magnifying glass, and we can continue on. I think at some point we're gonna have to put sun through the magnifying glass, and we'll keep on moving on. I think that was 115. It said. Pushing open the unlocked door, Zelda enters a small empty chamber with two more doors on the far side. The first opens onto a stone steps leading up, and at the top she sees a faint glimmer of twilight. Must be a way out, she thinks. The other door has strange runes and symbols carved into it. Some look like goblins. Whoever built this sure made it look scary, says Zelda. She opens the door and peers inside. It leads into darkness. I came here to find the things I need to free Link, Zelda reminds herself. Maybe I should explore some more. Or maybe I should leave and look somewhere else. If you think Zelda should leave the cave, turn to page 55. If you think she should go deeper, turn to page 47. And I put it to you guys. What are we thinking here? Do we have everything we need? We did pick up the magnifying glass. Is there something else in this cave we need? Or should we leave? First response says go deeper. So I think that is what we will do. Go deeper is page 47. Game over. No sense leaving till I've explored everything, Zelda says. She heads down into the gloomy staircase. Creak, crack. Yeah, oh, she screams. The stairs are collapsing. Zelda slides down a long curved ramp faster and faster until she lands with a heavy thud at the bottom. She climbs to her feet. What now? Rumble. Zelda reaches out in the darkness and touches a wall. It's moving closer. She runs the other way and hits another wall. It's also moving. With all her strength, she pushes against the slowly moving stones. It's no use, she cries. I can't stop these walls. I'm done for. Game over. I should have been keeping track of how many game overs we got. I think that's our 4 for 5th one. Got up to 330 on the points. We can back that one up. I don't remember what page we were just on. 10 something. Okay, we run this one. We had the rings. We went back to 23. Did everybody else always do this when you were kids reading these books, where you'd like jam your fingers in between the pages, and so you could like they were kind of like your quick saves, where you just have all your fingers jammed. And you're like, okay, well, if this one was the right choice, I can only go back to here, and I go back to there. Okay, so we're on 115. 15. And going deeper into the cave killed us, so we'll go to page 55 instead and leave. And oh, got some new people popping in here. Talk to Timmy also said we should go into the cave. Rebe said, my mom told me once when I was little she played a text-based Zelda video game, and I did not believe her. Yeah, could be that one. Um, because there were a couple of these. I think there's at least two. Most of them were Mario. And you're almost a Zelda sandwich. Yes. I'm getting out of here while I still can, Zelda decides. She climbs the stairs quickly and comes out on a stone ledge at the edge of the forest just as the sun is going down. What's that? She says, peering across a wide meadow at a collection of twinkling yellow lights. It looks like a town. Maybe I can find some help there. Wearily, she trudges across the meadow and soon finds herself on a wide, rutted road that leads right to the town gate. Halt! Yells a voice from the shadow of the guard tower. Who goes there? Princess Zelda, she answers in a loud but tired voice. What town is this? The gatekeeper steps out of the shadows and runs to Zelda. Princess, he said, it's me, Aldo. Where have you been? Don't you recognize the town of Rudo? Rudo, Zelda repeats with a sigh. I missed North Castle completely. Well, wherever I am, I better sit down before I drop. Aldo leads Zelda into the gatehouse and brings her fresh bread, cheese, and cool water. Between bites, Zelda tells him about her quest. Have you seen anything or anyone unusual in town, she asks. In town? The gatekeeper shakes his head. No, he says, but just out of town, there's a strange newcomer, a beekeeper. A beekeeper, Zelda asks. Name of Conley, Aldo replies. Very strange. He lives just out of town, back along the road a bit. Folks say his bees are magic, but he won't let anyone taste their honey. Very unfriendly old coot. Don't go near him, that's my advice. Not until you know how to make a deal with him. Zelda says softly. How did that riddle go? What's sweeter than sugar? I think I know the answer. Solve this puzzle to find the answer. Look at each set of objects. Find the one that doesn't belong, and then take the letters from both objects that don't belong and unscramble them. Yeah, everyone take a look at that one, and if you think you got an answer, stick her in the comments, and let's see what we got here. Super Double A says fingers, then scraps of paper, maybe folding the corner if they're my own books. Yeah, I don't know if I was organized enough to like have multiple bookmarks, so it was always just me doing this. I've never folded the corner of my books. That's always been like just a thing I can't do. Quick Smasher says classic Zelda character Aldo. Yeah, I wasn't sure on that one. I have played the first two Zeldas. I have not played them so much that like other than like the classics like Error, I do not remember any like random townspeople names. Maybe that is a guy. There's like a guy named Aldo. Maybe he was in the old cartoon because I think a lot of stuff in this comes from that. But that name does not mean anything to me. The town of Rudo, I think, is in the game though. I think that is one of the towns. Not sure. Drumstep says, "Yay cheese." On the subject of which is which, it is certainly not the honeypot on the page on the left. Yeah, like we said before, the inventory sheet is kind of a it's given us a bit of a spoiler that like, oh, you have the capacity to get honey at some point. Quick Smasher says the answer to the book probably wants is honey, but I don't think honey's actually sweeter than sugar. Yeah, you might be right there. I think what they're saying here is the things that don't belong. You've got 3 weapons and 1 like defensive thing, and then down here you've got 3 containers and 1 like dagger. So if we say the shield is different from these 3 and the dagger is different from these 3, that gives us the Honey. I think it's pretty clearly saying like, hey, the that's the thing. There's a you're gonna need to get some honey. Which does bring us to our next choice. It says, if you think Zelda should visit the beekeeper now, turn to page 38. If you think Zelda should go into town, turn to page 6. So, put it to you guys. What should we do? Just to kind of pop back here, Aldo the guard said that he said, if you want my advice, don't go near him until you know how to make a deal. But we do also know that we need his honey, so or we are assuming we need his honey. The riddle said one of the things we need is something sweeter than sugar. Um, yeah, if you got a choice there, pop that one in there. Let's pop in here. Oh, Omega Ace Gaming's in here. Nice to see ya. Um, Super Devil says, I can't believe I did that in retrospect. I seem to remember they were already kind of used and ratty. Yeah, I know like when I was looking through scanned copies of this book, I could not find a single one that didn't have most of the puzzles like just done in pencil on the paper. So I had to either some of them I like assembled from like if this book had it but this one didn't, I could kind of rearrange them. A few of them I had to go into Photoshop and kind of clean them up. Okay, and from the comments, Toxic Themi saying town, double super double A saying town. Go to town, get an item to trade for honey, and drops up saying we need to get the negotiation tactic. So pretty clear consensus. We're going to page 6. Um, just a recap for everybody who's kind of popping in for the first time here. The story so far, we're playing as Zelda. Link has been trapped inside a big crystal by Ganon. We have one day to find all the various objects that we need in order to free him. We were given a riddle that we need something hotter than fire, something colder than ice, and something sweeter than sugar. The hotter than ice we think we have, as we've got a magnifying glass that came at the same time as a clue about the sun. We're assuming the sweeter than sugar is the honey. We don't really have anything for the ice one yet. Uh, Magic honey, Zelda exclaims. That must be sweeter than sugar. I've got to get some. Please, Princess, Aldo begs. Take my advice and don't go see Conley until you've learned how to make a deal with him. Zelda nods at the trusted gatekeeper. All right, she says slowly. I won't try to get the honey from Conley. For now. Turn to page 24. I'll deal with him later when I'm better prepared, Zelda decides. She goes out to the main street of Ruto and looks around. Looming over everything is a dark, evil-looking tower with 5 curved stone spikes on its top. Down a narrow lane to the left, she sees lights coming from a tavern and hears sounds of singing. To the right, a lantern lights the entrance to a fortune teller's shop. Which way do I go now? Zelda sighs. Solve this puzzle to get a clue about what Zelda should look for next. There's only one solution to this maze. Find it and unscramble the letters you pass over, and they will spell out the clue. So we've got 3 choices: the tower, the tavern, or the fortune teller. So I think we are trying to get to the center. It doesn't really say. There's a start and there's this triangle in the middle. Do your best to do this maze and see what letters you pass. And then usually you have to unscramble them after. I think it said, yeah, unscramble the letters, so you'll get them out of order. Um, it'd be funny if the beekeeper releases bees at us. That does seem like the obvious thing. Um, this book does predate Link to the Past, where like you could get attacked by bees or use bees to, because that was the thing in that one. If you had the bug catching net, you could capture bees and then you could like release them to attack people. Or maybe it was only one particular bee. It's been a little while since I've done that one. I'll take a shot at this myself too, and we'll see if we all get the same answer. I'm gonna go backwards. I think I'm getting way too many letters. Johnson says DNAHGNIPLEHA is my single letters. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was getting a lot of letters. HER, or not the R. Hey, no matter what, you're definitely getting DNAHGNIP. Like you got to have all those. I'm assuming this probably spells out like a whole sentence. LEHA. Yeah, okay. I think I'm getting the same set that you're putting there. Does that Does that kind of turn into anything at all close to what we have here? Um, there's an SING, and it said that the tavern had the sound of singing. Oh, okay. So if we unscramble those, you can get a helping hand. You could have had me sit here for another 20 minutes, and I would not have figured that out. In terms of a helping hand, I don't know if that means the tower, the tavern, or the fortune teller. Um, I'm gonna put it to you guys. Everyone, put in what you think is a what do you think would be a good one for that, or which one do you want to go to? And I'm gonna mark a little 25 up here because I have a feeling that we might have to remember this page in a second. Sorry for anyone who's just joining. I think we're on a bit of a delay more than I meant to. Um, it feels like me when I'm looking at my own stream that I've got about a 15-second delay. So as soon as I'll ask a question, I'll just sit here for like 10 seconds and see if anyone answers it. I've got one vote for fortune teller. Drumstep says unscrambled in this case might also mean do the maze forward instead of backwards. Omega Ace Gaming says I see a crystal ball, but I'm probably not following the rules correctly. Oh, okay, so if you go ACRYSTALBALL. Oh, okay. You get a crystal ball, but that ends in a dead end. So I don't know. That at least is a thing that makes sense. It did say we'd have to unscramble them though, and that just seems to be in order, so it's tough to say. Um, I don't know. I've got at least two votes here for fortune teller, so let's pop into the fortune teller on page 116. We're on over here. We're playing pretty fast and loose with like the kind of the resets of what will happen next. Um, Originally, I was planning to have like a bunch of the music from Zelda that I was going to flip between when we went to different places, and I had like the fortune teller music from Link to the Past, and I could not get the audio to work right. So imagine that it's playing like do 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 do. I could use some advice, Zelda says. She pushes aside the curtain and steps into the fortune teller's parlor. Welcome! A wrinkled old woman dressed in a flowing silk gown enters from another room. She motions to a chair and Zelda sits. You have traveled far, the fortune teller says, taking one of Zelda's hands in her own. From Midora Palace. You know? Zelda shivers. Of course, child, the old lady replies in a kindly voice. Grusha can see far. You are seeking three things. That's right, Zelda says. I can help you, Grusha whispers, but I can't speak of it here. Come into my inner sanctum. She starts to lead Zelda into the other room. What's in there, Zelda thinks. Grusha seems kind, but should I trust her? Solve this puzzle to find out something about the fortune teller. This ancient scroll is a guide to fortune tellers. If you can understand it, you'll know what Zelda should do. These are really small. It's gonna maybe pop it in here bigger. Pop it in the center here, we can see it a little bit easier. So, a foolproof way to ferret out a fake fortune teller. Apply these rules to any fortune teller's name, and you will know if she is for real. Number one, fake fortune tellers always create a fake name to disguise their real identity by adding two letters to their real name. Two, real fortune tellers always give their real names. Three, fake fortune tellers' real names always have more than three letters in them. And four, real fortune tellers have 3 times as many letters as the real names of a fake fortune teller. Yeah. So, uh, whatever you make of that. What'd she say her name was? Grusha. Um, Grusha. So she's got 6 letters in her name. I'm just gonna make a note here. Gru. Drumstep says she's fake. So if they always have a fake name if they're fake. They use a real name if they're real. Fake ones always add 2 letters to their real name. So if she was fake, her name would just be Grus, Grus. Fake fortune tellers' real names always have more than 3 letters. So if she was fake, she would have a 4-letter name. So that tracks. Real fortune tellers have 3 times as many letters as the real names of fake fortune tellers. So I feel like real fortune tellers would have really long names, right? So if Grusha was real and she's got a 6-letter name, then her name would only. Yes, so James, yeah, the minimum number of letters of a real fortune teller is 9 letters, I think. Yeah, that makes sense to me because if Grusha was real, then she would have a 6-letter name. And that would mean that a fake fortune teller would have only a 2-letter name, but they only add 2 letters, but they can't. I don't think she should trust her. I think we all in agreement there. I don't think those numbers work out. I feel like I haven't fully done the math on this, but I feel pretty confident that if she was real, she would have a much longer name than she does right now. Yeah, are we all in agreement? Don't trust this fortune teller. She's a fake. Um, okay, actually 12, 3 times as long as 4. Okay, yeah, so there we go. She's got to be fake, so we'll turn to page 26. I'll be honest, when I was looking through this, I kind of flipped through the first couple and went, "Oh yeah, it's got a maze, it's got a little matching game. Yeah, easy puzzles for kids, the sort of stuff you stick in the back of back of a cereal box. We'll blow through these, no problem." And then there's been like 3 or 4 of them where we're going, "Oh man, what is even in here?" Rusha, thinks Zelda. Something about that name is fishy. It's much too short, of course. She stops at the entrance to the other room and backs away, quickly unswinging her bow. The old woman turns and a friendly light is gone from her eyes. "What are you doing?" she asks in a menacing tone. "I think I've had enough fortune telling for today." Zelda backs toward the door. "No!" commands the old woman. And before Zelda's eyes, Madame Grusha changes shape. The silk robes fall away, and the bent back straightens. Instead of a kindly face of an old woman, Zelda is now looking at the evil mask of a Wizrobe. "Get her!" the Wizrobe growls. The curtains to the other room part to reveal a dozen moblin waving battle axes and spears. In a flash, Zelda lets fly 2 arrows, piercing the 2 closest moblin. The others pour into the small room over the bodies of their fallen comrades, slobbering and jabbering in their awful tongue. "No room for the bow," Zelda says as she whips out her dagger. She kicks over a table, pinning 2 more moblin. The Lizrobe is in the corner, chanting to himself. He's going to cast a spell, Zelda guesses. She grabs a mirror off the wall and holds it up as a shield, just as the Wizrobe lowers his staff. There's a flash of red light, the spell hits the mirror and bounces back across the room. The Lizrobe and the Moblin freeze where they stand. The spell has turned them to stone. "Their future looks rocky," Zelda says as she goes back out to the street and heads for the Dark Tower. Zelda gets 120 points for defeating the Lizrobe. Turn to page 105. All right, so I think we didn't really gain anything there except points, just kind of a little side quest. An extra 120 points. Look at my little tracker here. That gets us all the way up to 480. We are well past apprentice adventurer now. And somebody back here said we should go to the tower Yeah, tower's where the helping guard is. Um, yeah, so it looks like that's maybe where we should have ended up anyway. We could have skipped this encounter. So page 105, the tower. I do think it's funny. It's like, oh, it's like a normal village. There's like a tavern. There's like a there is like an evil stone tower. Um, a tower with spikes coming out of it. I'll try the tower, Zelda says, walking to the base of the dark building. Those spikes on top look kind of like fingers on a hand. Ah, that's so if you unscrambled a helping hand. Okay, that was supposed to be the clue. The tower had 5 fingers, and I don't know. She takes out one of the fresh arrows that Aldo gave her out of her quiver and notches it to her bowstring. Slowly, she opens the battered wooden door. Does the tavern give more points? I don't know. If we die here, we can try the tavern next time. Moonlight pours through broken windows. In the pale glow, Zelda sees a hallway with a stone staircase curving around the inside of the tower. She steps forward carefully. Welcome! An inhuman voice whispers from the shadow. Who's there? Zelda demands, pulling back on her bowstring. A tall, armored figure steps into the moonlight. A Darknut, Zelda whispers. And without another word, the evil knight charges, his shield held high, his long blade slicing the air. Bong! Zelda's armor bounces healthily off the Darknut's thick breastplate. She ducks and rolls out of the way. The Darknut wheels and stabs at her. Zelda dodges sideways and takes aim again. The back, she thinks. A Darknut's weak spot is in his back. The tall fighter charges again, and this time Zelda somersaults under his sword and jumps to her feet behind him. Zing! Her arrow finds its mark in the Darknut's back. The evil knight crashes to the stone floor, and his armor shatters into 1,000 pieces. Not a very friendly place, Zelda says as she catches her breath. I hope there's better hospitality upstairs. And we get another 120 points for defeating the Darknut, which gets us all the way up to 600. We have now reached the rank of a Hyrule hero. So if we're looking at our little score thermometer, we got to be getting close now, I think. Um, this is kind of getting in some game stuff though, because that is the thing where like you do have to get around them and hit them in the back. So it looks like someone at least maybe played the game when they read this, or at least read the manual. I do like that they're giving Zelda some kind of fun I wasn't expecting her to be doing like a ton of combat when I started reading this, so it's fun seeing her get in there. Zelda trudges up the stone staircase. After a long climb, she comes out at the very top of the spire. All Rudo is beneath her. That Darknut was here for a reason, she says. It was guarding something. What? Her eyes travel over the battlement and stop on a strange object set in the floor. Bow in hand, she walks over to take a look. A handprint, she says in surprise, pressed into the stone. And that mark. She shudders in spite of herself. That's Ganon's mark. It must be his handprint. Then she thinks of the riddle. What's colder than ice, she says. Ganon's hand. His touch is the coldest thing in the world. With the point of her dagger, Zelda carefully pries at the stone around it until the handprint comes free. She slips the print into her pouch, and then she walks down the steps and heads for the tavern lights. Unscramble the words below and write in the dotted line. Then take the letters inside the circles and unscramble them, and they will spell out what Zelda should look for. Zelda now has the handprint. Mark it on your score sheet, and then turn to page 88. So we can mark that one on here. We've got almost all the objects now. And we have another puzzle. The thing we are looking for next. And I'm sure glad they told us that answer. Yeah, that's a bit of a jump, I think. The like, do they mean like metaphorically cold? Like his heart is as cold as ice. Ganon always have cold drinks. Yeah, he would, wouldn't he? Um, Okay, so this one I think is a little bit easier. It's another unscrambling letters one, but in this case, I think they've given us all the objects. I'm going to copy this into here so I can write all over it. So if I am looking at this one, I'm thinking that if you look at these, there's a ring, and I think that's RING. RI, this would be N, A, that would be arrow, ARROW. So this would be the A. The, yeah. Okay, this is target, the target. So target. This one is shield, SHIE. What do we got left? A horse, a spear, a glove. G. Not a horse, not a. Okay, this one's horse, HORSE. This one is the spear, SPEAR. Oh, the fairy's an item. F. The Nature RSR. Do it unscramble that too? I am very bad at unscrambly things sometimes. Those we're going to the tavern next. Oh yeah, drumsticks got fairy. Not yeah, so I'm seeing all the comments saying fairy now. We are on that bit of a delay between when I say something and when you guys see it. Um, so I'm not like ignoring you. It's just me. It's just time time delay. Um, if anyone's got this one, please tell me because I'm not getting it. Oh, I was really hoping someone would pop up and just like, of course, it's this easy. Um, NEA near. Who figured out a helping hand before? Because that was one I never would have got, and somebody spit that out. Um, I hope I don't remember who it was, but I hope they're still with us because I am getting stuck on this one. Um, EAT, great. And SR is all stuff that doesn't work. I'm gonna give this like 30 more seconds, and if not, I think we might just have to do our best with it because I don't know how long people want to sit here watching me struggle with this puzzle for a 10-year-old in the back of a Nintendo book. Which one did you say you're stuck on? The cursors. Oh, so I've got these are our letters. Um, oh, helping hand's just the order going through the maze. I went backwards like you did, but also never would have gotten that. Okay. So we just need to unscramble these letters. I'll draw them again bigger. N-A-P-E-G-S. Maybe Nate Gersher. Rest. R-E-S-T. Rest. Ring. I assume this is whatever it is we're going to need to exchange for the honey that we need to get that last thing. Stranger. All right. Viola guy popping in here. Stranger. Stranger. Okay, we are looking for a stranger. I think that is what we will assume is correct. That works for me. We are, I think, now on our way to the tavern. Yeah, she walks down the steps and heads for the tavern lights. So I guess we're going to end up there anyway. On over to page 88. So I'm assuming we could have like skipped that and gone right here, but I'll try the tavern, Zelda thinks. She steps into the crowded, brightly lit room. No one seems to notice her as she takes a seat close to the fireplace. What'll it be, milady? The serving girl asks. Something hot, Zelda replies. For the first time that day, she relaxes a little. Then she sees the stranger. Huh? He's sitting in a corner of the room by himself, wrapped in a thick cloak of dark green cloth. His hood is up. Zelda can see the glint of his eyes reflecting in the firelight. He's staring right at her. Zelda scowls. I bet that's a spy of Ganon's watching me, she mutters. I could confront him now and get him off my back. Then she reconsiders. Or maybe I should leave and try to lose him in the streets. Solve this puzzle to decide what Zelda should do. Help Zelda cross a tavern, either to the door or to the hooded stranger. She must reach her destination by jumping from person to person without landing on a monster. She can go in any direction, including diagonally, but she can't land on the same person twice. Add or subtract the number on each person she lands on according to the plus or minus sign. Write the total on your score sheet. If Zelda lands on the door, turn to page 24. If Zelda lands on the stranger, turn to page 7. And I'm not sure this one actually has like a... sometimes it's just like, hey, you just like get some extra money. Or not money, the points. Let's make this a little bit bigger to hopefully you guys can see those numbers a little better. Make this one really big. Rob's just reminding me that we had be friendly was one of our things. I don't know how far forward those clues follow. I'm pretty sure that clue be friendly was when we were talking to the tree witch, but it could be a general thing going forward. I guess we want more things. We can keep trying to get like the highest. There's a plus 100 over here by the door. So that's pretty good. We go 10, 20, 40. To get to the stranger, you got to go through a lot of minuses. Yeah, if we go this way and get to 10, 40, 80, 90, back down to 50, up to 80, down to 70, but then 170, 210, 190, and then out the door. Let's see. One says bottom right seems more optimal. Drumstep says I think we should go to the stranger based on the tower clue. Yeah, the clue did say stranger, so I feel like that probably is the correct one. If we want to get as many points going to the stranger, I think we could go like 10, 20, 40, back down to 10, up to 35, down to 25, and then 45, which isn't a ton of extra points, but uh, it's it's a little extra. It would get us over Hyrule Hero because we were up to 580, so that would get us to. I'm doing a lot of math today. 580 plus 45 is 625. So we're kind of just over that line now. We are a Hyrule Hero. So unless I see anything really quick in the next, any good reasons, I think we're going to go with Heading to the Stranger. In case this is the wrong choice, everyone remember we're on page 89 if we need to go back. Flopping back to number 7. Finally, Zelda fights her way through the crowd to the stranger's side. You, she says boldly, her hand on her dagger. What are you staring at? A weary princess, the man answers and let his hood fall away from his face. Estragon, Zelda cries. My old teacher. I thought you were a Ganon spy. So I'm just gonna pause for a moment. Is that a guy from anything in Zelda? Is Estragon ever been in any game or anything? Because that's a name I've never seen before. Estragon nods his gray head and smiles. At least you haven't forgotten everything, he says. Now sit down. There are real spies of Ganon lurking around. Zelda starts to tell her tale, but Estragon has already heard. You always knew when I was in trouble, she says. You know how I can get the magic honey. With this, he replies, and places a small flask on the table. The sap of the fairy flower tree. The beekeeper uses it to make his favorite drink. Zelda puts the flask in her pouch. Come with me, Estragon, she begs. I need your help. No, child, the old man says gently. I'm too old for adventures. But ask the beekeeper for help. He can get you to Link in time to undo the spell. Zelda embraces her old friend and heads for the beekeeper's hut. Turn to page 70. The moon is high in the sky when Zelda arrives at the beekeeper's small hut outside of town. Strange gold and blue sparks rise from the crooked chimney, and she can hear a loud buzzing inside. Beekeeper Conley, Zelda calls. Huh? Replies a deep voice. Who's there? A friend, Zelda answers, with some fairy flower sap. The door to the hut flies open, and a short, round man dressed in heavy robes stands there looking up at Zelda. Let's see, he demands. Zelda takes the flask out of her pouch, uncorks it, and waves it gently under the beekeeper's nose. He grabs for it, but she snatches it away. Not so fast, she says. Let's trade. The little man eyes the flask hungrily. What do you want? He asks. Honey? Take whatever you need. And then he waves to a row of honey pots along one wall. That's not all, Zelda says, holding firmly onto the flask. I need to borrow your bees. My bees? Conley says. What for? To take me to Medora Palace. I must be there by morning, Zelda answers. Conley laughs. You want to ride the bees? Okay, you think you can. He turns toward the inside of the hut. No stinging, friends, he yells. Then he snatches the flask from Zelda and disappears into the back of the hut. Zelda now has the honey. Mark it on your score sheet. So if we pop this back over where we can that should be about the right. And we can add a little circle onto our honey pot. One more item for us. And just popping back into the chat for a second. Drumstuff says, not that I know of, but I know 1 and 2 lore well. Viola Guy says, Zelda Wiki says that Estragon was made up for this book, which makes sense. Drumstuff says, is riding bees a reference that feels weirdly familiar for some reason? I don't remember it from a Zelda game. Wasn't there like a guy in like one of the Metal Gear games that was like he could like control bees and like bees would like fly him around or something? I never played it, but I think I just saw it on something that was saying like kind of pointing at some of the weirder things. Zelda now has the honey. Mark it on your score sheet. Turn to page 49. Zelda enters the hut and fills a small jar with the magic honey. As she does, she sees that the blue and gold sparks are really bees. They land on her one at a time till her whole body is covered with thousands of buzzing insects. Suddenly, the buzzing gets louder and Zelda is lifted gently off the floor. The magic bees are carrying her. They fly out the door and up into the sky. Through the moonlight night, they soar, heading for Midoro Palace. They arrive just as rays from the rising sun strike the tall columns of the palace. The white stone glows softly. For a moment, Zelda thinks it looks like a friendly place, and then she remembers that Link is trapped there. The bees swarm up into the air and head back toward Ruto. Thank you, Zelda calls. And down she rushes into the maze beneath the palace, retracing her steps until she reaches the room where Link is imprisoned. The crystal is still in the middle of the room, with Link is still frozen inside it. A ray of sunlight is shining on him. Link, I'm back, Zelda cries. Solve this puzzle to score extra points. Get Zelda through the maze to Link. For each arrow you pass, score 10 points. Try to find the path that will give you the best score. Let me go up. Honestly, I think I'm just going to do this once and take what I've got. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we do, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 10 seems good. That gets us up to 760, I think. Or 720, another 10 for each. We're almost up to Wonder Warrior. The bees, the bees, the bees! Ah, they're in my mouth! Ah! So if Zelda has the magnifying glass, the handprint, and the magic honey, turn to page 74. If Zelda doesn't have all three things, turn to page 28. In our case, we do have the magnifying glass, the honey, and the handprint, so we can turn to page 74. I've got them, Link, Zelda cries. I've got the three things I need to break the spell. Link can't respond, but Zelda thinks his frozen face looks a little more hopeful. She's like, don't worry, I've got all the things we need to get through this spell. And then it's like the honey. It's like thing number one, honey. It's like, okay, you sure? It's like, and I've got a magnifying glass. It's just three very random things. From her pouch takes the magnifying glass, the magic honey, and Ganon's handprint. Now the problem is, what do I do with these things? She asks out loud. While Zelda thinks, the beam of sunlight grows stronger. Link's crystal prison shines brightly, and Zelda stares at it. Oh, she cries. Part of the crystal is shaped just like Ganon's handprint. Zelda takes the stone handprint and places it over a raised mark on the crystal. They fit together perfectly. Crack! A dozen small holes appear in the top of the crystal, right under the beam of light. Look at that, Zelda whispers. It looks like a honeycomb. The honey! Quickly, she pours the magic honey into the holes. The thick brown liquid begins to steam and bubble. Heat, Zelda cries. She takes the magnifying glass and holds it in the light above the honey. Under the heat of the magnified sunlight, the crystal begins to turn colors, first blue, then gold, then red. Boom! With a terrific crash, the crystal splits open. Link! Zelda cries, and catches him as he's about to fall. Zelda? Link looks as though he's waking from a deep sleep. What happened? I'm so tired. Did we get Ganon? Quickly, Zelda tells him all that has happened in the last day. We must find Ganon, Link says. We must get the magic scroll, or he'll use it again. But where should we look? Zelda asks. Do you think he's still here? Solve this puzzle to get a clue about what to look for next. First, use these rules to figure out how many rubies Link has. Link has 16 rubies, and Zelda had half the number he did. But then Link gave Zelda 4 rubies. Then Zelda gave Link half her rubies. And then Link lost 15 rubies. How many rubies does Link have? And then color in every space with that number of sides to create a picture of the thing that Zelda and Link must look for. Alright, so I'm going to pop this one over. Hope everyone's ready for a little more math. Yeah, what's you guys start working on that math. I'm gonna catch up on the comments here. Uh Quick Smasher says, Princess, help! Not now, Link. I'm trying to get the high score. Honestly, serves Link right for all the times that he's been like, just hanging out, fishing, or like Link has a history of not really running right to go rescue Zelda. So I feel like he can kind of sit and chill for a little bit. Drelta says she thinks she looks hopeful, and then she pulls them all out, and he no longer looks hopeful. Like I got the honey, the one thing we needed. um, all right, so look at this map. So Link has 16 rubies. Zelda had 8 because she had half the number he did. So Link gives Zelda 4 rubies. So Link is down to 12. Zelda's got also 12. Then Zelda gave Link half her rubies, which is giving her 4 back. And then so that would put him back up to, I think I missed something here, 16 and a half, which is 8. He gives her 4, he's down to 12. And Zelda is up to 12. She gives Link half of hers, which is 6. So then that gets him up to 18. He loses 15. Yes, okay. All sorts of people are saying 3, 3, 3, 3. So I think that makes sense. He has 3. Um, color in every space of that number of sides to create a picture of the thing Zelda and Link must look for. 3 makes sense. It can't be nothing because how do you color in a picture that has 0 sides? Um, and honestly, just looking at this picture, it seems to me that if we look at this kind of stained glass thing, and if we put color in all the triangles, like that one's 3 sides, that's 3 sides, that's 3 sides, that's 3 sides. There's a kind of a pretty obvious shape in there, I think, if you just shade in all the triangles. Uh, that one's got 4. And at that point, I'm pretty sure we've got it. Um, as we recall from the very, very first puzzle, when we had to find the one weapon that could possibly stop Ganon, uh, we found out that it was going to be a spear, and we wrote spear at the top, and it's just been sitting there that whole time. Zelda gets 200 points for freeing Link, which I think puts us over the max score. I pop that one out here. That's enough to get us all the way up to Wonder Warrior. I think that we're in a good spot for that one. Uh, if you think Zelda and Link should leave the palace, turn to page 40. If you think they should go deeper into the palace, turn to page 86. Again, guys, got to put that on you. Should they go deeper or should they turn around and leave? I do feel like the last time we had one of these, it immediately just said, you die. um, I have a feeling that this is going to be a like, hey, do you have the spear yet? And I think is what this is trying to tell us. Let's see. So I got one for deeper, one for do we have anything to go on here? Yeah, the only thing we have to go on is this picture of what I'm assuming is the spear that we were told we need to get. Um, so I think if we go deeper, we're gonna fight Ganon and not have the spear. Though I'm not sure where we go to get it. Um, uh, I'm seeing Dr. Tammy saying, go in, even if it's probably going to give us a game over. Yeah, let's see what happens. So everyone remember that we are on page 77 because we're probably gonna have to go back here in a second. If we go a little bit deeper, I'm sure Ganon is near. Maybe he's even here, still in the palace, Link says, as Zelda helps him down a long hallway. I could sense him the whole time I was trapped in the crystal. But if we do find him, how can we fight him? Zelda asks. You're too weak to stand. I might be able to help, says a small voice, as clear and tinkling as a silver bell. A fairy, explains Zelda. A pink fairy floats down toward them from somewhere high in the cavern wall. Yes, the fairy says. I heard about your problem and I came as fast as I could. Zelda and Link stand underneath the fairy and are bathed in her pink light. Immediately, Link's strength returns. I could fight 100 Ganons now, he says joyfully. Don't be rash, the fairy warns them. Ganon can be defeated today, but only if you find a special weapon that's hidden nearby. What is it? Zelda asks. That I can't tell you, the fairy answers, but it's close indeed. Goodbye, and be careful. The two friends watch as the fairy floats up and disappears somewhere near the ceiling. A special weapon, Link repeats. Duck! Shouts Zelda. Link ducks just as a deadly boomerang cuts through the air over his head. A blue Goria, he cries, looking at the thick, blue-furred monster. Look! Turn to page 13. Watch out! Zelda shouts. Link rolls to his right as the boomerang circles back, its razor-sharp edge slicing through the air. Do you see the Goria? Zelda asks, her bow at the ready. Yes, Link shouts. Over there. Zelda lets fly an arrow, and the two friends hear a blood-curdling scream. Yow! Ow! 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 I think you got it, Zell, says Link. Carefully, they walk forward to see. Spare me, pleads the Goria when they find it. The blue ogre lies on its back, holding one arm where Zelda's arrow cut through. Why should we? Link demands, his sword at the Goria's thick muscled throat. The monster's pointed ears curl back in fear. Spare me, and I'll show you a powerful weapon, the monster pleads. A battle axe. It's the only thing that can defeat Ganon, and I know where it is. A weapon, Link says. The one the fairy told us about. I don't know, Link, Zelda replies. This could be a trick. Seems to me I learned something about the weapon that could defeat Ganon. Now, what was it? If you think Link and Zelda should follow the Goria, turn to page 93. If you think Link and Zelda shouldn't follow the Goria, turn to page 43. What do you guys think? Thumbs up says, liar! All caps. Yeah, I am somewhat uncomfortable by the idea that the Zelda monster is pleading for its life and Link like, I think we gotta kill this guy, right? I got one vote for do not trust this guy. Anybody feel differently? Two votes for don't trust. One vote for follow. I'm pretty sure Vanillas just hadn't put the game over. Gregoria is dummy thick. We must ignore him. And Kiwi says, finish him. Talk to him. He says, we're looking for a spear, not the axe, so not to follow. That's most votes for don't follow, so let's turn to page 43. You're right, Link says. Something smells fishy, and I don't trust this ogre. Stupid people, the Goria sneers. He dives through a hole in the floor and disappears. Let him go, says Zelda. Let's find Ganon. Okay, so they're not gonna, like, execute this guy on the spot, so that's good. Together, the two friends search the palace. It's empty, so they make their way into the thick woods surrounding it. Ganon's creatures are all around. I can feel them watching us, Zelda says as they forge through the bush. I don't care, says Link. I just wish we knew what we were looking for. Suddenly, Zelda stops short and puts her hand on Link's arm. I think we just found it, she says softly. Turn to page 99. In the center of the clearing stands a tree that is larger and taller than any Link and Zelda have ever seen. They walk forward, forgetting Ganon and his monsters as they stare at the mighty tree. Its leafy canopy stretches like a roof overhead. Its trunk is wider than a tower in Zelda's palace. Look, Link says suddenly, right in the middle of the trunk. There's a spear. The spear is growing out of the trunk at shoulder height. It looks just like a branch, but it's tipped with shiny steel point. That must be the weapon the fairy was talking about, says Link. I'll just cut it off. He raises his sword. No, cries Zelda, recalling her promise to Greenbeard. Isn't there another way? Link puts a hand to his ear. It sounds like a band of moblins is on the way. We need the spear right now. Solve this puzzle to see what the hero should do. Can you use the spear to divide Ganon's army without touching any monsters? There is one catch. The magic spear will only work if there are more Octoroks than Moblin on each side. See if you can draw a straight line through Ganon's army where the spear can go. Can it be done? And here is the picture. If you think the puzzle can't be solved, then Link cuts off the spear. If you think the puzzle can be solved, then Link doesn't cut off the spear. So we need a straight line that puts more Octoroks on one side than Moblins. Dropstep says, Zelda games would feel very different if every monster begged for its life before you killed it. Yeah. The closest thing I think I've ever played that was kind of like that. You guys remember the game, I don't know what it was called. No One Lives Forever. It was like a spy game. It kind of had this like Austin Powers like 60 thing. It was really good. But all the bad guys in it like would have these like conversations, and if you like were hiding in a corner, like sometimes there'd just be like a 5-minute conversation between two guys where they would just be talking about literally anything. Like sometimes it'd be like philosophy, or like sometimes it'd just be like two like henchmen, and they'd be like, "Oh, like hey man, like you play a little bit of bass, right? Because me and some of the guys, like we've got a band going, and our bass player he got transferred out to like the volcano there, so." If you could, if you wanted to join up, like we've got a show on Friday, we could really use a, and you like listen to this whole thing, and then you would have to kill him to get by. Um, fun game though. Kiwi Kenobi's pointing out that apparently the portal of Moblin is Moblin. Yeah, I noticed that myself. So what do you guys think? Is this doable? Can we get a straight line through the through this thing? We need to keep more Octoroks and Moblins on each side. So if we do something like that, that's no good because that's an equal amount. So that's not going to fly. I assume you can't like thread it through without touching any. Okay, that's 3 Octoroks for 2 Moblin. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Octoroks versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Moblin. There we go. Solved. Easy. Yeah, Kiwi Kenobi says, I think it can be solved. Yeah, compared to some of the other ones, this one's not exactly rocket science. Also, I think even regardless of this puzzle, I think we've got a pretty good idea that we had a whole scene where Zelda was like, I promise that we will never cut down a tree in this forest as long as and then you like walk up cut a big chunk off of the guy you made the promise to. I do think it's neat because this predates the N64, but I am imagining this guy looking exactly like the Deku tree from the beginning of Ocarina of Time. This big tree, wider than a tower. I'm assuming he's got a big magic face on him, but I don't think they actually said that. Okay, we think it can be solved, so we're going to flip back to page 17. I know how to get it, says Zelda. She steps back from the giant tree and lifts her arms. Greenbeard, give us your spear to stop the axes of the Moblin. A soft noise like the wind through the leaves fills the clearing. The screaming Moblins fall silent and stop where they are. With a soft snap, the spear falls into Link's hand. Ah! He cries, and holds it overhead, and the Moblins fall back. They're running, he says. Then, through the rank of the cowering Moblins strides a tall, hooded figure. Ganon, Zelda whispers. And the heroes get 200 points for the spear. Turn to page 22. I feel like we were really working on some of these to make sure that we got enough points to fill up this thing. And I think we've got, like, it tops out at 800. I think we're in like the thousands now. Well, little princess, Ganon sneers in an icy voice. You've done better than I expected. You broke my crystal spell. You fool! Don't you know I'll just cast it again? Not this time, Link cries defiantly. We have something that'll stop you. Ha! Ganon's laugh is like a poisoned dart thrown through the air. Once again, boy, you've made a fatal mistake. Ganon waves his arm, and the crystal-making scroll appears in his twisted hand. The scroll, calls Zelda. Quick, Link, before he can cast the spell again. Link poses himself to strike. I hope we have the right weapon, he says to himself. If Link has the spear, turn to page 118. If Link has the axe, turn to page 95. Has there ever been a spear in a Zelda game? I don't think there has been. I haven't played every single one of them, but it's not a weapon I recall ever seeing. Link gets ready to throw the spear. As he does, Ganon stumbles backward. The spear, says the evil wizard in a trembling voice. How did you find it? With a little help from our friends, Zelda replies. Of course, that's something you wouldn't know about. Friends, that is. You haven't won yet, Ganon barks. He whirls and brings up his other hand, with a fireball in it. Flames shoot out at Link. The young warrior springs out of the flame's reach. Ganon immediately snaps his fingers, and another ball of flame appears. Use the spear, Link, Zelda calls as another fireball flies toward Link. I can't get a clear shot, Link answers as he jumps to safety. I think I can arrange something, Zelda says under her breath. As Ganon holds up yet another huge ball of fire, Zelda slips an arrow from her quiver and lets it fly. Ganon is so busy trying to stop Link that he doesn't see the arrow until it's too late. It catches his robe and pins it to a tree trunk. Now, Link, yells Zelda. Link hurls the spear. Ganon throws a flaming fireball at it, but the magic weapon can't be stopped. It hits Ganon in the hand and nails the scroll to the tree trunk. Oh! Ganon's cry of pain echoes off the distant hills. He pulls his bleeding hand free and stumbles away from the heroes. You'll pay for this, he cries in a twisted voice, and then in a flash, he is gone. Zelda runs to Link's side. We did it, she cries. We defeated Ganon. Yes, thanks to the wood magic of your friend Greenbeard, Link agrees. The spear, Zelda says. Look at it. As they watch, the spear begins to sink into the bark of the tree, taking the scroll with it. In a few moments, both disappear. Well, no one's going to believe all the adventures you had, Link says as they leave the clearing. This whole story is one big muddle to me. Oh, really? Says Zelda with a laugh. I think it's all very easy to understand. In fact, it's crystal clear. Link and Zelda get 300 points for defeating Ganon. Game over. You win. So, that is the end of that story. Another 300 points. Like, I think we picked up 700 points within, like, the last couple of things. So I think no matter what you did with all those little extras and solve a puzzle to get more points, you would be well over 800 no matter what. Link dodge it, yells Pokemon trainer Zelda. Zelda backseating. Yeah, I gotta agree. I do think it's funny that it's like he's dodging fireballs. Like Link, you use the spear. the thing that we just spent like a lot of time and effort trying to find. I think that might be the thing you should use. I do think it's kind of odd that they well, I guess at this point was the Master Sword a thing? Like right from the first game, you had the sword that could kind of like shoot lasers out of it, but I don't know. Was that just like a magic sword and not like the Master Sword? I don't know. I don't know if they actually called it that until Zelda 3. Because it is kind of funny. Like he should already have the famous Ganon killing weapon. Um, but yeah, that's the end there. Well, like I said, it's weird to see game over when you win. I agree. Yeah, it does definitely have a very negative connotation most of the time. Uh, Quick Smasher saying not a thing until Link to the Past, but pointing out that even the wood sword could beat Ganon in Zelda 1. Um, okay, and Drumstick says the same thing. Yeah, Link to the Past was the first actual Master Sword. Link to the Past was like my first Zelda game, so like that's kind of like my standard of what I think of for it. Sidetrack says it was a magical sword in Zelda 1, and I think Master Sword and like that. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. Um, yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that. I think that was pretty good. I kind of felt like I was expecting this to be really quick. I kind of thought like, this will be a fun little thing. We'll zip through it. It'll take like half an hour. Um, I guess when you're reading them out loud, it takes a little longer to get through a page. And a few of those puzzles actually did hold us up a little more than I thought they would. Um, but I would do this again if people think this is the if this is something that they want to see again. They made not a ton of these. There was I don't think I got the list in front of me here. They adventure books. Let me look it up again. Yeah, they made about 10 of them. And I think only one other one was Zelda. I think all the rest of them were Mario. The one I had was called Brain Drain. So I'll pop it on the screen here. Oh, that's a really small picture of it. You get the idea. Um, that was the other one I had when I was a kid. You it was about there was like something that was flipping around everybody's like consciousness. So like you played as a Luigi in it, kind of same way you play as Zelda in this one. You're sort of not the main character, but then you get like flipped around. So it's like sometimes you're in Yoshi's body, or sometimes you're in like a random Koopa's body, and I remember it being kind of neat. Kiriko saying, I guess only got here times to the end, but it was still fun. He had a few of these books too, but he had the Mario ones. Yeah, so I think if they made like 10 of these, most of them were like this. Yoshi looks like a dog. Yeah, because I think in this case, like Yoshi is being like it's like a Koopa or something is inside Yoshi's body, and Yoshi's brain is somewhere else. Um, Somebody in one of the posts asked about the Sonic ones if I'd want to do those, and I think they were pretty cool because I remember reading just one of them. But I think with the Sonic ones, you actually like before you started, you like set up stats, so you're like how much like strength and dexterity and stuff you wanted, and then at certain points, I don't remember if you actually rolled dice, but I think it would just say like, hey, if your version of Sonic you're controlling has at least 3 strength, you can open this door. Otherwise, go to this other page. I don't remember if they had the same puzzles like this or not, though. It is kind of neat seeing the different takes people have had on these. There was a series called Fighting Fantasy that, again, I think I only ever read one or two of them, and I never really played them right because I didn't really understand the rules. But they were sort of like solo Dungeon and Dragon adventures where you would like make a character and set their stats, and then whenever you got into a fight, you would actually roll the dice and kind of do out the fight and keep track of your health. I remember thinking they were really neat, but Trump said if it's Sonic, you just max speed, right? What I meant there was it was like strength, speed, and I think he had a stat for cool. So there'd be sometimes like, look, if you're cool enough to do this, you can do it. Otherwise, like find another way around. Um, yeah, we're coming up to 2 hours 45, so that's a probably a good yeah. We'll look into this one because it looks like I think people can um really cool attribute and choose your adventure Sonic stats. Yeah, we might do a Sonic one next. I think that'd be fun. Um, because then Sonic also has got kind of in that weird spot where like I feel like this book, the Zelda one, was based off the Zelda cartoon, and then Sonic also around this time just had a lot of weird stuff going on with its comic books, like where do you guys remember like there was the two Sonic cartoons that were on at the same time, and you had one that was like it was basically just a Roadrunner, and it was just like Doctor Robotnik would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna like dig a big hole and like put some chili dogs in it," and then Sonic will run in, you'll fall in the hole. But then there's like the other Sonic show that was on at the same like during the same period where like Robotnik had already taken over the world, and like Sonic and his friends were like guerrilla fighters who would like, okay, we're gonna like meet here and we're gonna rendezvous to like take down this generator, which is gonna lower the defenses long enough to like so we can sabotage this like robot tank factory that it's been giving us a lot of trouble. And it's just like a very different. It's all the same characters, but like a completely different like tone and story. And I'm not sure which one of those books might follow. Sonic the Hedgehog and the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. There we go. Yeah, not confusingly named at all. Um, yeah, so I think I'm gonna wrap this one up here. Thank you for joining me on this little adventure. I had fun. Hope you guys did. And keep an eye on just the posts. If I think I'm gonna be doing another one of these again, I'll post about it a couple days earlier. I will keep trying to figure out the streaming stuff a little bit. This one was a bit kind of last minute hack together. I think there's just an option I can just hit where I say put less delay on this, and I thought I hit that, but I'm seeing I've got normal latency selected. So um, yeah, if we ever do this again, hopefully, because I do feel like we suffered a bit from, hey, what do you guys think? I'll wait 10 seconds until I see the first result, and then um, but yeah, how many people do we still have in here? We picked up a few people here and there. Um, thank you for everybody that stuck through it this whole time. Throughout the whole thing, I think we had quite a few people, but I think we had kind of 3 or 4 all stars that really were helping us out the whole way. Um, yep, should be a new long video. Probably not super soon. I'm still working on it. Um, but we'll see what comes up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like and subscribe. I don't know. Whatever you say at the end of these things. Thanks again, and yeah, we'll do it again soon.